We are live. All right.
Hello.
Hello
Happy New
there,
Year.
everybody.
Happy New
Happy New
Year.
Year. It's funny. I've been watching, you know, YouTube videos all last week. Everybody's like, and this is our last video of the year. I'm like, you'll be making one next week.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody's acting like, it's their last video for 10,000 years. They'll never like, dude, you're making a video next week. There's no reason to go, it's our last video of the year. Like that's somehow sad.
I think people get caught up in the wrap up of
Yeah.
things that this is a new year. We're going to start something. It even popped in my mind. It's like, it's January 1st. Maybe I'll draw and do an illustration a day.
There you go. Hello there,
Now it's
Captain Trinity.
Friday. Have I drawn anything? No. But the idea for it was
There you
there.
go.
And I even know what sketchbooks to
It
use.
might take you a little while.
Yes. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so it's one of those
But
things.
those uh we were just talking a little bit before the show, and Wilson was telling us about his trip to the comic shop and stuff he looked at. But those
Yeah.
Mark Spears blind bags are really popular. I mean, I've
Yes.
seen like video people opening like 10 of them. It's crazy how many. Don the Comic Book Junkie, I think, got 15 copies of it. And I'm like,
Wow.
wow, that
And
is
and
that is something.
and it reminds me of a conversation that I overheard in the comic book shop the week before, where it was
Mhm.
someone was asking, "Are you getting?" I didn't recall the name. He was talking about blind bags.
Yep.
And it goes, "Yeah, they'll be there. They'll be out next week." Like, is there a limitation of how many we can get? No, no, because on occasion you go to the comic book
Yes,
shop and it will say one per customer.
right.
And he
That's
was worried in the sense of he wants to get a few, and he has coworkers that want to get a few, but they may not have time to get to the comic book shop.
I think people bought a whole lot of these, blind bag boxes. I mean,
Right.
just tons of like, matter of fact, Don the Comic Book Junkies, he's a guy I've been watching for years. He's down in Florida. His store got They still have the Halloween. The Halloween version was the first one of the Mark Spears. This is the Christmas one.
Okay.
Um, they still have some of the Halloween ones left, and they got even more Christmas ones. I don't believe Don the Comic Book Junkie reads even half of the books he buys. No, he buys them compulsively. I mean, he is a comic book reader, but he buys he's a dollar book guy too.
Right.
So he goes to the flea market and drops $100 on dollar books.
Mhm.
His collection is like 40 or 50,000 comics. And like but I would say there's even more people, Evening Comic Rack, who don't,
Hello.
Evening
Welcome.
Missing Mars and Evening Tit Goblin. Just got back from my LCS and I bumped into Bernie Sanders' twin. He left with a few half issues of Elf Quest, just like the American version. Huh. I'm not even sure he reads. You don't have to be that mean to Don.
And let's not pick on people buying comics and not reading them. That's my whole
Yeah, they
shtick
keep the
here.
industry alive. I would have to say the number of YouTubers that I watch who buy their comic books and don't read them compared to those who buy their comic books and read them is probably at least 50-50, if not 60-40 in favor of the people who don't read them. So
Right.
many people, collectors don't always read their they like collecting them
Yeah.
rather than reading them. And that's but I think Don just buys, he's just, like he said, he's a comic book junkie. He just buys so many that he can't read them, kind of
Right.
thing. Like, I know he reads some of the new weekly ones, but he buys too many to. He knows how to read. I just don't believe he reads the books he buys. I don't think he probably reads 10% of the books he buys, I'd say. Just because he buys so many dollar books and he collects so many different, like he collects them. Is that I can't, like, he'll go to the flea market and there'll be $25 books of some series he doesn't collect. So now he collects that series.
There is something to be said to be able to go to a flea market or any place where you could buy a whole thing in bulk that you don't even know about, but there's
Yeah,
a chance to get all 24 issues of a title.
yeah,
That's very attractive,
kind of
you know,
fun.
because it's attractive. It's fun. It leaves you the time to hunt what you're really looking for, but you would see something like, "Oh, these are cool. I wanna check," and I've done that, where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, it was, sometimes cheaper to buy in bulk because the guy will
right,
give you a deal that, "What if I get all of these?"
right.
And you could save that way as well. So it's again, as you mentioned, each collector has their own way of collecting.
Greetings from the past. Hello there, sleepy reader.
Hello.
And Don's now buying Pokemon. No, he's buying Magic the Gathering cards. Because he wanted to start collecting 'em. I think he knew some people to play the game with, he said, but I think he stopped making videos of pack openings because nobody cared. You know,
Right.
he got no traction with his pack opening because that's a big thing, is pack
Yes.
openings
Pack openings,
of whatever. Yeah.
yeah, that I am fascinated by the fact that you could buy a
Sleepy.
pack of something and have the
That's it.
person open it up for you
Oh, yeah, that's
while
it
they're
too.
on that live, and it's like,
Right.
that's amazing, but at the same time, it's like, I'd rather have the 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 the
I'd rather open it
thrill
myself, right?
of
Yeah.
opening the pack,
I guess some
you
people
know?
don't care.
Yeah,
They have no
exactly.
thrill in that, yeah. Because one of the there's a Magic guy I watch who's Alpha Magic, I forget his name, he's a Magic guy who invests in Magic cards even. He's got boxes and cases and he sells them too and whatever, and he has those pack opening ones. I usually don't watch those ones, but yeah. And then there's what they call, in the sports card business, rips, where you can buy into a rip. Where let's say someone's opening cases of football cards, you can buy into like your favorite team, like I get all the Giants from this, all the New York Giants from this case opening. So I
Right.
think that they do that in sport, and they do that with old boxes and new ones. So it's kind of crazy they do with those cards these days.
I've done a few openings of, like, some vintage cards that I just happen to have laying around, because some I got and I collected, and others, there was a time you could buy a whole box of unopened cards for, like, $3. And I had bought a few because I did a set of Ninja Turtle cards because I had a
Yep.
school project of designing the box for the cards. So I
Uh-huh.
designed a box for one of the cards, and I stuck all the cards in it for the Ninja Turtle ones. So of course that's a physical 3D model thing that didn't last,
Right.
the past 30, 40 years since I've been in college. But I still have the packs of cards, and every once in a while I'm moving things around. I'll find an unopened pack of cards, and I've done like openings of the packs, and they do pretty well on TikTok. But it's like, this is fun, and it gets into the back of your mind. It's like, oh, I could go get more of these cards, and I go looking up the price, and it's like, it's not worth it to spend that much money to open up a pack of cards that I'm going to end up keeping anyway.
Right. Evening, Paolo.
What's up?
Hello,
How are you doing
welcome.
tonight?
I was actually thinking I was going to get here a little early, later. I mean, but I got done sooner than I expected.
Huh,
Okay,
that's good. Captain
good.
Finity's too busy reading superhero comics like Sherlock Holmes to
And
bother
Nancy
with
Drew.
card packs.
And Nancy Drew. You need
And
more
Now
Nancy
Nancy
we
Drew.
Drew.
now we
Nancy,
can
the
make up our own Nancy Grew stories.
first four Nancy Drews are now in public domain.
Ooh.
I'm excited for the Shadow.
Yes, right?
No, wait. Does that you know what that means? That Nancy Drew will have sex with Mickey Mouse.
Uh-oh.
That's what
It-
people do when
Oh, yeah.
characters go into the public domain. You get sex.
There'll be a Nancy
Yeah,
Drew horror
I'm
movie.
not writing that. It is funny how
90% of my new collection are books $2 or less. That's basically how I collect now. It takes the stress out of it for me. It keeps it all disposable in theory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
yeah.
And
I
it's $2 Canadian, which are worth
yeah,
less than two real
practically
dollars.
giving them away. I got I don't. They're all. I've almost completed the Firefly series from 2018 to 2020. I got 2 more issues to go, and I bought those from mycomicshop.com because, it's easier to just get those 2 issues. But I got another bunch of them. They're already put away because I think it was 22 issues for $28 taxed and shipped. So, and these ones, I'm like, I was looking at them and they're not in bad shape, but they almost all of them have some imperfection. I was like, are these ones that were reported damage? Because there was a lot of dinged corners and they were mostly like they were mostly A covers and stuff I hadn't had already. Like there's like 5 different covers for each Firefly issue. That's one of the things I liked about it. There's such a wide variety of covers. So I think out of the how many issues did I get? Nearly 100 different Firefly covers, and only I think 6 of them were actual duplicates. So it was amazing getting these lots. How many covers there were?
Nice.
Nancy Drew, Mickey, and Savage Dragon Orgy.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. He'll do it. Did I hear Firefly? Yes, I've been buying. I'm going to make a video of them. I've been buying the 2018 to 2020 Firefly series in lots on eBay just because I kind of ignored the Firefly. I read the very first Firefly comics and they were just mediocre and I kind of lost interest in them. But that 2018 to 2020 series and beyond from Boom has so many nice covers on it. They do so many different things with that I started buying them just for their covers in lots on eBay, about $2 a piece. They end up being so that's a good price too. I'll buy them for $2 a piece for their covers. Though I'll read them all. I've yet to run across public domain characters in porn, but I run across a lot of them in horror films. Yeah, that's because you can do like non-public domain characters in porn and call it parody.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the superhero movies have parodies.
Yeah, the
Tit
horror
Goblin's Camp
films are the
collecting as well. Yeah, I like cheap back issues too. Another of my favorite superheroes, James Bond. There we go. In Canada, we only carry covers. Has anybody seen Friar Tuck?
You just right up there.
Friar Tuck is TikTok, right?
Yes.
Because they changed how they present names. Well, before Wilson shows us his blind bag, he's going to open his blind bag for us of, what is it, Ultimate something?
the ultimate end game.
There we go. I want to show the Chris Geruso one because Chris told us a few weeks ago that he had done some sketch covers for this, i.e. original art. And so did a lot of other people. But I happened to see a couple of them on Facebook. Someone posted. Let me get rid of this. So let me show you what those, share screen. This is what you could have got. There's the first one. Whoop, I didn't share it. I thought I did. There it is. It just took a moment. There's the first one. And like I said, this is one of the, I think they're calling them lottery books or something. That's a Chris Geruso original. And this is what's in the blind bag. When I hear blind bag, I still picture a very old blind lady. So that's a pretty nice one. And here's the other one. Whoa, this sharing is making my cursor drift. Come on. There's the other one. I was hitting the wrong thing. Wow, I can't get back. For some reason, I couldn't get back to here because the screen sharing was making my cursor drift back and forth. But I think those are pretty. Is that the? Yeah, that's the same. I think those are two pretty cool Chris Geruso covers that you can get in your blind bag.
I think so. Did Chris mention how many he did?
No, he didn't. But I saw. I forget which artist it was. What's that? Todd Nuck? Todd Nuck? I think he said he did 50. I was like, whoa, that's a lot.
That is quite a bit.
Yeah. Do you want to open your
Sure.
blind bag for us?
So when I went to the shop, I didn't have anything to pick up. So I was like, all right, what's on the shelf? And nothing reached out to me, but I did see the fact that they had the blind bags for Ultimate's Endgame #1, which is I guess spoilers. They're planning to destroy the Ultimate Universe because that's what they did to it the last time. So I guess cynically we could say that's what's good about the Ultimate Universe. You don't have to stay too long. So we're going to cut it at the top. I did see some other blind bag stuff, but the price point was too much for those. Where this one is only $5.99.
There was an Image Comics blind bag that came out last week that was $20.
And you get to see what it is first.
Nope, because there's a piece of paper over it, I think. It's wrapped.
Okay. Huh. Or that's... Oh, okay. So it is a silver foil one.
Ooh.
Or not silver foil, but it is a foil one.
Look at that.
Of the cover. With the main villain on there, who I believe is the Reed Richards of that universe.
Yes, the maker.
The maker.
Shiny.
Yep. And he was the one that basically is starting... I think he was responsible for the last book. The last universe to be destroyed. So, again, it's an event book that's going on from Marvel. And the only reason why I picked it up was to see what might be in the blind bag.
Shiny.
So definitely a shiny cover.
Old blind bag.
Let's see. So it's Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate X-Men, The Ultimates, #24, and Ultimate Wolverine. So these are the ends of those books. And then this book, Ultimate Endgame itself, issue 1 is out in December. So that was late. Issue #2 is out in 2026 in February. March, we get issues 3 and 4, and it wraps up in April, issue #5. So here's a little extra piece of...
That's the little...
This is the little not insert because it was covering the book. So it's the book jacket.
It tells you when everything's coming in.
Tells you, all the books to read, which is basically, I'm guessing, all the Ultimate books.
Sleepy asks, do these sketches pay the artist pretty well? I don't know, but I doubt it.
I don't know what Marvel's paying.
Yeah.
I know what some other companies paying, and that's anywhere from $5 to $10, if even. And like sketch cards only pay about $3, $5 if it's in color. Right. So I don't know if they do the same thing with the guys who are doing the cover art. Each company has their own page rate for that type of stuff.
What would you imagine Marvel pays for a sketch cover? Anywhere between, because it could vary by the artist page rate too.
It could very well.
$100 a sketch, I think, would be a lot.
It would be very much a lot. I don't think Marvel is paying that since their cover price is only, the $6. Um, I don't know.
$5 for art, criminy, yeah.
Yeah.
What's with the staple holes in the dust jacket, Wilson?
I think it's just so they can put it in front of on the book without it affecting the actual
Oh, okay.
staples. So it's where the staples would be. And I would imagine that since this is regular paper printed on one side, it is possible they may have somebody folding them and putting them on there, or the printers could have a machine that would put it on there and it would keep it from hitting the staples. That's the
Yeah,
only thing I would
probably
think.
stop it from I've heard a lot of those are damaged
Yeah.
coming out of the bag, so people are complaining.
Yeah, because they're in the bags, they're being put on the shelf. I would imagine, depending on the shop, the bag, because you can't tell the condition of the book. Because the bag gets taken out, put on the shelf. If anyone grabs one bag, he grabs it wrong, a bunch of them come flying at you. Because that almost
Yeah,
happened to me. I went to pick up one, and I ended up picking the one behind the first one because you couldn't really see. You just grab it,
yeah.
and I ended up grabbing like 2 books off pulling 2 books, and I grabbed them both. But I could see how they could easily uh, get toppled over.
That seems like nothing, $3. Yeah, that's why a lot of sketch card artists have to figure out a way to do them in bulk.
Do them in bulk. You usually, depending on the company, some companies will let you decide on a particular image and pose, and you could do like 25 of them in that same image and pose.
Right.
Um, some of them actually prefer that because, especially if you're working for a company that has licensed that image and that has to go to the licensee to approve it. So some companies would prefer that you would do like, here are the 5 cards, here are the 5 images I'll produce, and I'll produce 25 of each of them.
Right.
And that will get pre-approved. You get it back, and you get to do that. So that makes it easier that way. Other companies prefer each card be an individual thing, and again, you don't really, as far as I can see, you don't really make enough money off the individual cards when you first do the set. You make the real money when you do the later sets or when you get to keep the artist proof cards and you can sell those for a larger amount. Or,
Mhm.
and again, if you do the thing that some people forget is that it's a sketch card. You shouldn't spend more than 5 minutes on it. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
a really quick sketch. And
right.
then, you save the real art for something later and bigger and you sell those for a larger price.
Hey guys, I'm lurking out here, Donald.
You're welcome to lurk.
Welcome to Lurk. D. Do people like Chris do as a favor to the editor? No, I think, like I said, you learn how to make money at it, at least enough to, like I said, it's a job,
Right.
not a high paying job, but it's a job where you can make a few bucks drawing Spider-Man.
Exactly. And
So that's why people do it.
you get on a mailing list and you will get an invitation from the company.
Hmm.
By the way, we are going to do this particular project. It starts on this day, will end on this day. You are welcome to join. You could either choose 20, 50, 100 to do, and it pays this much. And that's pretty much it. Then they give you certain rules that it could be black and white. It could be black and white in color. That might bump up the price a couple of bucks. So you get that information, and then they'll tell you there's certain rules. There's certain characters you may not be able to draw. Things like that will happen, and that's in the sketch card portion.
Right.
Sketch covers, I've been offered to do a few. They don't cost all that much. They also prefer a quick sketch. If you want to do something really, because I've seen people do, double size. I mean, not double size, but color, pencil, ink, and color on the front and back of a whole sketchbook, and sell them for big bucks on eBay. But what they're putting into these blind bags are supposed to be sketches because you're not getting paid all that much for them.
How many AIM agent covers out there? A
Covers?
lot of
We don't
AIM
know.
agent covers in
I
the
don't know if
Bronze
there
Age.
is any covers, but there are AIM sketch cards.
Well, yep, Stan Bunch. Got one right now. It's in there. It's behind my screen right now. Stan Bunch. Who's our friend Steve Bunch, but nobody knew that.
Right.
That was just people trying to decipher the signature back in the 90s.
Yep.
What does this say? Who's this infamous AIM agent artist?
That's Roy Thomas.
You know,
Ray
Roy
Thomas. He invented AIM agents.
yeah.
Advanced
Again,
idea mechanics.
That's what happens when you make one offer to all the artists. Decide, oh, we're charging way too much, so we're going to cut the prices, and it's like, oh, and you got to get these done so quickly.
Yeah.
And turn around and go, yeah, because the actual named artists are not going to do that much work for, for so little money.
$2 a card, I think it was at the time.
I think it started at $3,
Maybe
and then there
$3.
was a cut, and then there was a half cut because of the AIM agents. I think something like that happened where it started at a larger number, and again, so many stories of like, oh, you had artists painting stuff, doing full paintings. And when those arrived at the offices, allegedly some of the editors at the other offices of the card company were like, "Oh, I'm keeping this." So
Yeah.
those never ended up in the market because they decided to keep some of them. So there's been stories, tons of stories about these cards, and that was just the first time they even started that.
Sleeve says, "Oh, I missed something about AIM." All right, I'll tell the story again. I probably told it once or twice over the years. The very first sketch card set, I don't even remember the year, 93, 94, whenever it was, where it was after Marvel bought Fleer and Skybox. And that's when they got the idea we wanted to put sketch cards in. And their idea was to get Marvel artists to do sketch cards for $2 or $3 a card. Marvel artists didn't want it. They weren't doing sketch cards for $3 a card. They had pages to draw. So they actually came down to the bullpen panicking because the deadline was approaching and they had no artists lined up. So they came into the bullpen. It was like, anybody want to draw cards for $2 or $3? So some of them, plenty of artists in the bullpenners. No one knows their names, of course. So they're like, oh, I'll give it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Does not sound like a good time to me. But then it became, after a whole bunch of people said, yeah, and took like 200 cards that they had to get done in 2 or 3 days. Meanwhile, they had a full-time job at Marvel, but they drew on the job too.
Somebody up there said, "Suckers."
Yeah. So, but it became a race to the bottom to see who could spend the least amount of time making a card, because you had to draw like a Marvel character, but it can't take you 15 minutes to earn $2. You're making, so you had to figure out how to. So I can still, they were trying to, I can still remember Dave Sharp, letterer, was like, he was like, ooh, he got his Mysterio. He was drawing Mysterio. He got that down pretty quickly. He's like, ooh, Mysterio, that's a good one. But then the next day, our friend Bunch came in with 200 AIM agents. And let me see if I can reach behind my screen and find my AIM agent. It's in this box.
So this was 1998 is on the packaging of it,
It was a
and
couple of
it's
years before then. Okay, here's my box of art cards. So I'm betting my AIM agent is in here. Let's see. And when they saw the 200 AIM agents, they were like, "That's it. We're calling it." And then when they were and I think they came out like 2 years after. And then when they came out, you had to buy an entire case of cards in order to get a sketch card. And people who got the AIM agent were just not happy. And he became, when I first looked for it on eBay in the late 90s, people were like, "Here's one of the infamous AIM agents." Crap, where is it? Ah, there we go. Well, like I said, I think this was probably, I mean, I don't even remember them coming out. They came out so long. Come on, you guys get back in there. I have to find my I bought a Hembeck AIM agent too, just for the heck of it. Where'd he go? I got a lot of art cards over the years. Someday I'll have to make a video of all of them. But there, let me show you big. There's one of the standby. So imagine you spent $80 on a box of Marvel cards, and Sketchograph, that's what they were. And he did 200 AIM agents. Just like that. But he was making $2 a card and trying to figure out how to make money drawing $2 sketch cards. There we go. There's my Hembeck AIM agent. I bought that just for the heck of it. But when you ever hear us refer to AIM agent cards, this is what we're talking about. And no one could decipher his name, so they called him Stan Bunch. They were close, Steve, but so Stan Bunch, the infamous AIM agent artist.
once in a while I've checked this website that talks about it, and they have some copies of the cards. And so for Dave Sharp, they have him listed as Dan Sharp because he wrote D. Sharp. And one of my favorite cards that I see on here from him, there is a Mysterio card.
Right.
There's a Cloak card, Cloak and Dagger. And my favorite one of it is he has two webs shooting across, and then he handwritten out TWIP, which I think should have been all his cards, him mainly being known as a letterer. That I think is fantastic. So maybe later I'll go see if he did any more of those. But I found like 3 of my own on there, which was Spider-Man. Where did it go? Not in real order.
Sleepy says someone out there is buying 30 blind bags to get a sketch that cost a few dollars. Yep. Show off your art cards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing
great
too.
Story. It is.
Because it goes crazy because, those cards where, when I spent a few minutes drawing Spider-Man, the Kingpin, black costume Spider-Man, because then you don't have to worry about the webs. You found every shortcut you could because there wasn't enough time. But it's nuts how much these are going, these would be going for. And it's like, oh, I made $3 on that card, and then you see it on eBay for like $300. And my mind is like, really? That was a crappy Iron Man that I drew. You're paying that much? I think the other thing too is that, this was a time period right before artists was charging for sketches. because you
Right.
could go into a convention and you gave an artist your sketchbook, they would draw in it for free.
Right.
They would take again 5 minutes or so to do a quick sketch. Here you go, and it was for free. And I think people got used to that to the point where it's like, oh, if we're going to make these sketch cards, if they're doing it for free anyway, they must do it for $2.
I
And
don't
I
even
think,
think they thought about it. I think
it,
they had a budget.
yeah,
They had a number that was in their budget. They needed a certain amount of cards, and they just divided. They were just like, "Our budget's $5,000. We need 5,000 cards, $1 a card."
right.
That's all they did. They didn't think about it any more than that. This is what's in the budget. This is what we're paying. Yeah. Someday, I'll make a mini comic about this story called 5,000 AIM Agents Can't Be Wrong. But he ruined it for everyone. But after he handed in those 200 AIM agents, they went, "That's it." But they paid him for the 200 AIM agents. What the heck?
They paid him half.
They gave him half?
I believe they gave him half. So what I remember happening, and
Okay.
I was in the bullpen,
Right.
and through the course of this going on, they asked and made um Darren Ock the go-to guy for the bullpen.
Okay.
So Darren was like kind of collecting everything together to ship him out or what
He
have
may
you
have been assistant art director at that time then.
at that time, yes. And so I don't know if Bunch got a note, an email, or a call, but he jumped up and ran right to because I think I was hanging out with Pond Scum. He
Right.
jumped up and ran to Darren, and he's like, "Darren, we need to talk," and he closed the door. And so it was muffled. But from what I recall was that they said they'll take the cards, but they were only going to pay him half because he did all
Ah,
the same cards.
right.
And it's like that wasn't you showed up, said we need help. It costs this much a card. This is what you got. You
Right.
can't go back on it now. So that was I think that he was either offered or they
The
ended up
flop.
giving him it was said, I don't know if it was ever resolved on how much he's actually getting.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was a cut and then it affected everybody else.
Right. It's like, ah, yeah, that's the way to get better cards. Pay half the money.
Uh-huh. So it's like so that whole thing was
Geniuses.
wild.
That's
And
the kind of business geniuses that are out there in the world.
and once I did that set and after everything was said and done, it was like, I'm done, I'm out. It took 10 whole years before I did cards again. And the
Wow.
prices didn't really change all that much.
No. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Now I'm looking at it. I'm looking at a bunch of them. It's like, some people went as far as inks, some did coloring.
Yeah.
A lot of it stayed in pencils because it was supposed to be was a sketch.
There's like a couple of like John Romita cards in this set.
Yeah, just John Romita's. I have a Sal Buscema. Let's see if I still have it available.
Or if it's buried in the vault.
It may be it may be buried in the vault, but may have it in. I have a box that I keep them in from like one of my old wallets, and I like the box, so I
Yeah.
kept the box. And so these are my sketch cards from that time period, and some other cards. And so there was a set called the Silver Age. So from the Silver Age sketch, I have a Gene Colan.
Ah.
I have a Ron Lim. Ron was definitely one of those artists who did a ton of them.
Now, did you buy those
He's
off of
pretty
eBay?
quick. These I traded for. I don't
Okay.
remember what I traded for them. I think I traded one guy who had a bunch of stuff for cards
Ah.
that I had that I was willing to. So this is one of the original sketch cards I worked on for the. So this is the '98 one. The Silver Age doesn't say what year it is, and the cards themselves. Oh, you know what? I might have traded the guy for blank cards that I had.
Ah.
Now that I think about it, because these aren't. We didn't get the cards this way. We got them uncut, so they were twice the size, and then this was in the center, so they were just a little bigger cards, and then these were like
Ah.
right in the center of them. So you
That's
had
right.
extra space around it.
They had trim marks on them.
Yes. I do not know. I do not know whose name this is. Is it maybe Ron Lim? Because it just looks like an RL, but here's
Okay.
a Wolverine one.
Yeah.
This one I might have pulled from the pack. Yeah, the rest of these cards are promotional cards. Like I was on the Walking Dead set, so this was the cards that I got.
Okay.
The promo to the card set, and I only did 4. So with when the Walking Dead came out, that was Cryptozoic. So many people wanted to be on that card set that it was like I did 4 of them, and I got a call from my editor, and it's like, "Have you worked on those cards yet?" And I said, "I did 4 of them. Could you return the blank ones to give them to another artist?" It's like,
Wow.
"Sheesh. All right. Am I going to get paid for the 4?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Okay."
Everybody wanted to be there.
Yep.
TikTok says, I'm hearing Steve Root is having financial difficulties, close to losing his home. If you're a fan, buy some of his sketches to help him out and his wife out. I actually did. I saw that too on Facebook. That he said the lights were off in his studio. I was like, how does Steve Root not able to make money? It makes no sense to me. So I ended up going on his website and buying one of his books. I bought whatever the latest Nexus he's working on that's not out yet. He's got a process book of it. Excellent, Jared. Yeah, I figured I was like, you know what? It's Christmas. I could buy something. So I went in there. It was like $35 plus $10 shipping, I think. So it ended up being about $45. But it looked real nice. Like it's all his sketches, all the process
Right.
stuff for making the comic, which isn't out yet. But I'm like, all right, this looks like it's up my alley. So I just ordered that a couple days ago.
I'll check out his site when we're off the show.
Yeah, I saw that like on Facebook. I saw a post he made that someone actually reposted. I think I do follow him, but I didn't see his original post. I saw somebody reposting it. Steve the Dude Rude.
Well, Steve Root probably doesn't have much in the way of stuff getting reprinted at the big 2.
You're right. Now that I think, yeah, he's got Nexus is really his thing.
Yeah.
And that's not an evergreen.
No, although I suppose that Dark Horse still have a bunch of all of the entire collection in the warehouse, but they're coming in one at a time.
Right. I'm sure he's not getting a lot of love checks from that.
No, most likely not.
I wish Howard Chaykin was having financial difficulties. I could do with a second cover from him. And I gotta, you know what? I give Steve Root a lot of credit too. He worked hard to get better and better. He really, I mean, especially his painting. He is so much of a better painter now than when he started out. And so few comic artists work hard to get better and better. Oh, Sleepy says Nexus is out of print even.
Wow.
Is it?
So he's getting no money from it.
Have you ever seen any of his sketchbooks?
No, I haven't.
So I saw this in San Diego Comic-Con I want to say probably 2008 was the year. I'm not positive the year, but for 10 years I went to Comic Con every year,
Right.
and so from 1994 to 2004 I went to every Comic Con, and then a few after 2004. And at his table, he usually uses the larger black sketchbooks.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us use the 8x10,
Right.
but he has the next size up, almost comic book page size,
Okay.
the 11x17, I think it is. And so he keeps that as his diary, but
Ah,
it's an art journal. So he
right.
draws in it every day. And so and he's calling them sketches. They're practically finishes.
Oh, yeah.
So he pencil inks it and colors the whole thing, and is usually a pinup. And then he'll write things that were going on the course of the day. And he has volumes of this because he draws in it every day until the whole. And I think he does it as yearly, like because I think each book had a year on it. And there's
Right.
these beautiful books that, again, he's the one that's drawing every single day, studying and getting better and better, kind of a thing. So yeah, you could see his progression, totally, it not only in something like that, but the stuff that he puts out and puts on his social media.
I think I remember it was a few years ago now at New York Comic Con, my friend Ed telling me that Steve Rude was doing like a painting demo in one of the rooms, and he and my friend Bunch, who did the AIM cards, were like the only ones who went there. So they got to hang out with Steve Rude and talk painting for an hour.
Yep.
So they loved it, but it's like no one else was there. It looked to buy it for a friend, at least on Amazon. Tit Goblin, I bought the Next Nexus 1989 #1 today for the cover. That color palette on the cover is totally my style. And Sleepy says, I suspect Rude's only income, is Kickstarter projects and commissions. Yeah. But he, like I said, I still remember I think it was Neil Adams famously said once that if you haven't made it by the time you're 19 as a comic book artist, you're not going to make it. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. I think 19 is a little low. I think there's a little bit of truth to that. But I think the flip side of that is if you've made it as a comic book artist, by the time you turn 30, you never learn another new thing. Most comic book artists who are successful are too busy drawing comic books because it takes a whole lot of work to learn anything new. Steve Rude put a lot of time and energy to learning. He learned how to paint. He learned how to draw better. He learned how to sketch in a way that I've seen usually when comic book artists, start painting when they're 20, they never get better because there's not enough time in the day to get better for them. They're busy drawing and living life. Which leads us to see, first we'll go to here. He has really good painting and process demos on YouTube, but I stopped watching because his cough tick every 2 seconds was hard to ignore. You never know what's going to ruin them for you. Here is, let's cover up the name. I would have never guessed who this painting was by. This is Eclipse magazine. Issue number 2, which I read this week, which I never would have guessed by him, even though his name is on the cover. It's Michael Golden, because I've never seen him paint much. But I wasn't even suspecting it was him, because inside it says special color print by Michael Golden. And This has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Being that this is a book, for those of you who don't know how books are printed, where's a piece of scrap paper? You can't print just one page in a book because they're stapled in the middle. Any one page you have to add into a book is really 4 pages. That's the way books are. You can't just add a single page in. You have to add 4 pages, a signature, because each page is folded in half. That's how books work. So, Clips Magazine is a black and white book. So if they want to add a Michael Golden print in, they have to add 4 pages, which is exactly what they did. The Michael Golden print was added in on that page, same as the cover. And then the next pages were just blank.
Why not just do it poster size?
Why not do a poster size? Why not add 4 more pages? You're already paying for 4 color pages to be inserted into your book. Why not use them?
Insane.
Here I am second guessing Eclipse comics from July 1981.
Amazing.
But it just seemed really weird.
Who was the editor of that book?
The editor is Dean Mullaney. He was the Eclipse editor. Well, I've never met, but
I've never met him either.
Yeah. You're forgotten by the time you're 40 then. Yeah, if you don't like I don't think Neil Adams learned anything past he was 19. He really didn't.
There were a bunch of guys who started in the 60s and 70s who were really, really young.
Yeah.
Funny thing, in Europe, there's no way anyone will waste any money on you unless you're over 30.
Comic book people. Listen, I would say comic book artists learn to be more efficient. They generally, they make it in their 20s, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And as they get older, like John Byrne learned to be more efficient. I think not every comic book artist learns to be more efficient. But if they're learning anything, it's just very, like I said, very few comic artists I can think of. Like Frank Miller, I think, learned stuff. Frank Miller art in his 20s is different than his art in his 30s, is different than his art in his 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one of those who I think changed and learned stuff.
Barry Windsor Smith.
That's not normal. What was that?
Barry Windsor Smith.
Barry Windsor Smith. Yeah, he learned. He definitely learned a bit more, but
I don't think he learned the same way, let's say, Steve Root did.
No, he never. Barry Windsor Smith never became the painter.
My theory,
in
my humble opinion, and I have no facts to back this up, I feel that Barry Windsor Smith started by aping Kirby, like many people did. And then he eventually found a French artist and he aped him that no one knew here because we didn't have the internet. That's, I think, Barry Windsor Smith's trajectory was he was aping one guy and then he found another guy to ape that no one knew about at the time.
But it took a lot of skill to ape him.
Yes, completely does. Completely does.
I ran zero. I think the main skill that comic artists learn later is writing comics. Yeah. I think a lot of them have learned that. Write comics for other people too.
Yeah.
You can make more money writing comics. That's what they learn.
But you can even see like Kirby's changes in art
Oh yeah,
style. He
Kirby is
began,
a
and
prime
he
example of learning.
learned how to basically minimize the line to a certain point. Not as far as Alex Toth did,
Right.
but was like there was a progression of where his art was to a certain point, and then not to say overnight change, but he kept doing it, and I think that came down because of developing the artwork for the speed of how many books had to come out.
He learned to be more efficient, but he also learned different. Like he learned how to draw better too. He learned a lot. Like different decades of Kirby is definitely different.
Right.
Like I said, that's not the same with most artists. The ones who want to focus on progression rather than speed seem to leave comics quickly, Sleepy Reader says. Yeah, I think that's true too. The more you learn to get out of comics.
Yeah.
And a lot
So
of
what
them
happens is
but
that
this was another excellent issue of Eclipse monthly. Let me tell you what we get in this one.
Monthly comic published 4 times
Oh,
a
no.
year.
Pardon me. This is Eclipse Magazine. Eclipse
Right.
Monthly was a comic book sized. Was the comic book sized anthology. This one didn't claim to be monthly. I don't want to.
No, it was quarterly, kind of.
Yeah, it was. I think it said bi-monthly originally, but didn't even make that. We get a Steve Lealoha story. Let me show you this. Some Steve Lealoha funny animals. What's the name of this one? It doesn't have it. And this is sort of a funny animal story. Western, I think it was.
See, for somebody like me who's only used to seeing Lealoha draw superheroes and badly, this is completely refreshing and completely changes my opinion of him.
Right, this good stuff. I remember mostly as an inker, and then we got and here's story by Joe Owens and Martin W. Herzog, illustrations by Ken Stacy. He always wanted to write for Ernie Kovacs. So we start with this sort of humorous, funny animal story Western, and then we get into this sort of existential story of a guy who's dying who always wanted to work for Ernie Kovacs. So just the variety of stuff you could get in this magazine is crazy.
That's why they call it an anthology.
Yep. And really nice story, too. I enjoyed it. And then the next one is the very first Coyote, Marshall Rogers. And who was the writer on Coyote?
Steve Englehart.
Steve Englehart. Oh, nice.
Yeah, he brought Mantis. He brought Mantis with him to Coyote, as usual.
Okay.
He always brings Mantis with him.
Nice, wild story of, and this one, like Coyote's the only sane one. I remember later on finding out different. Then we get who is this? Billy Graham. McGregor, Don McGregor and Billy Graham. And Billy Graham doing this cartoony style. And it's just a quick little slice of life story of a nerdy white guy.
Yeah, it's recognizable as Billy Graham. He has those exaggerated proportions and the camera angles is a lot of whack.
It's a nerdy white guy going with his cool black friend up to a club in a black area of town, wherever. I don't know if it was Harlem. I don't know if it's Harlem or I'm just thinking it's Harlem. But a nice little story. Then of course, we get the print by Michael Golden, and followed by 3 blank pages. Mm-hmm. Why not just fill those pages up? I don't know. Trina Robbins starting Sax Rohmer's Dope, which I don't know if it was ever collected. This was.
It was. IDW did a collection a few years ago.
Oh, IDW did. Okay.
Yeah.
It was printed in a lot of different things.
I think it was the first time that it was collected. Yeah.
Oh wow! It was printed in a lot of different things. Dope, I remember. Here is a Val Mayerick story. That's kind of what is this? A horror story, I guess you'd call it. It starts sort of slices life with this woman dealing with her life, and it turns into a horror story. And it's to be continued next issue. That's sure. She ends up sneaking into this apartment. I forget what the reason is, but some nice artwork. And what else do we have here? A couple page Howard Cruz story. Some sort of social commentary about his barber being a super conservative that can pretty much, you could print this today and it'd be exactly the same. The social commentary hasn't changed. And then we get a quick one-page Rick Geary story. Well, I'm a big fan of Rick Geary. I've got book after book of his murder series. And then we get the second ever Ms. Tree. I forgot how, because I used to buy Ms. Tree, but I probably haven't read it since the 80s. But just how straightforward Ms. Tree is. It's like the plot isn't complicated. It's just like this happens, hard-boiled private eye. So there's not a ton of like subplots, and it's her trying to figure out who murdered her PI husband on their wedding day. Got no time for anything else. Captain Infinity, I want an anthology with no variety. That would be, let's see, Twisted Tales from Pacific Comics, and Alien Worlds and Alien Encounters, the ones that are like a sci-fi theme, or a Creep Show that's coming out now that's got a horror theme. I guess that could be no variety. The same time travel story told 12 times. Okay, I don't know if they got that. Sleepy says, I really love the Eclipse anthology back then. Made me think comics were growing up. Yeah, I'm reading it now, 40 years later, going, wow, comics are really growing up. But yeah, I'm enjoying reading those again. Like, this is the first time I've probably read them since 1981. How insane is that? That I've always meant to. Did you read anything this week, Paolo?
Yeah, I finished the first volume of The Invisibles, and I started on the second.
And how's it going? You're enjoying it?
Yeah, it's not much different, although I am noticing a few other things. And namely, it gets to a point when it's quite clear that Grant Morrison does not have the story all mapped out in his head from the beginning. He's not Alan Moore that way.
No, he doesn't.
And things change according to the type of drugs he's taking that day.
Yep. Leafy says 1984 by Warren is a good place for no variety.
So I've heard.
I read one issue of it back in the day and was like, ooh. Oh, one thing I've been reading this week that I finally started getting around to is the CrossGen Mystic Omnibus. This is it without his dust jacket. Let me show you a couple. So far, I read the first trade of this 20 years ago. There was one I went, I don't really, because my pull list was full. I didn't really need to pick it up. I was already picking up a bunch of CrossGen books. So I ended up not picking it up. And I'm enjoying the read, but it's not my favorite of the CrossGen books. But my goodness, is this a tour de force of Brandon Peterson drawing Pretty Women? It's just like you could almost call it good girl art, but good girl art really has sort of good girls caught in a bad pose, or like good girl art has a little tongue in cheek to it. This is just straight up drawing. Let me show you a couple of pages of this giant tome. Where's some? There's one of the covers. And they're also commenting early on her costume going, because her costume keeps changing magically and giving her a cleavage window. And she's like, what's going on with this? There's another big mystic spirits going into her pinup page. There are the two sisters in their fancy dresses. Let's see, what else do we got here? But like, just Brandon Peterson drawn the hell out of these women. It really is impressive. It's like, whoa, he's really going for it. And I think this is when they were, CrossGen had them on staff and they were all drawing a page a day. So there was plenty of time for him to draw it. Sleepy Reader's heading out. Catch you guys later. Off to an evening with the in-laws. Well, you have a good time.
Take care, Sleepy Reader.
So far I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I read the first 6 issues. So far I'm enjoying it. And the Brandon Peterson, I don't know that I've ever read a lot of stuff he's done.
Oh yeah, at Top Cow, do you remember something called Arcanum?
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, that was his. Yeah, he moved to Top Cow to draw the Cyberforce spin-off, codenamed Strike Force, which was the new team made around Commander Stryker, the guy with.
I think I bought some codename Strike Force.
Yeah, and of course he got famous because he took over from Portasio on Uncanny X-Men.
On what?
On Uncanny X-Men.
Oh, Uncanny X-Men. Okay, see, yeah. I never read that. I think he may have drawn another cross-gen book later on.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I can't remember which one, though. But wow, he like I said, he's really drawing the heck out of these women. They're all super pretty, long flowing hair, long, robes, cleavage window, everything you can think of. He's got it going on in those first 6 issues. They were trying over there at CrossGen. But I don't think it's what was the last one I read? Sigil, which was another one I had never read before. It's not quite as exciting as Sigil, because it's about these 2 sisters. They live on a magic planet run by magic or whatever. They're these 2 sisters. One's the party girl, and one's the studious one who's been studying magic all her life. And is about to, on this planet, there's like 7 guilds. And if you're like the leader of the guild, you get this old-time leader spirit in you to give you power and guide you. And in the cross-gen, the whole idea of the original cross-gen universe was that people would get these sigils, which is the cross-gen logo. Some superpowered guy was going around like touching you, and you'd get this sigil and you'd get superpowers. For what no one knew in story-wise why this was happening, but it was happening across all the different cross-gen books, which were all separate on different worlds. So the party animal sister gets the sigil. And then at the studious sister's ceremony for her getting the spirit of the magic guy in it with the other 6 members of the guild, the sigil draws all 7 spirits into the party girl. And all of a sudden she has all the magical, all of a sudden she's got all the power of the guilds in her. They're still powerful sorcerers. They just don't have that. So then they want their, guys back, but the sigil ain't having it. So the first story arc was her in conflict with those magical guys. So, and eventually she has to make peace with her sister too. So it's been a decent story, but there's a lot. But like Sigil was more army fighting. The guy was a soldier. He was getting into battles, so it was a different sort of thing. Have either of you read much cross-gen?
When it first came out, I picked up a few books, but I didn't really stick with it. And I couldn't even remember which books that I picked up.
Right.
There
was a bunch of them.
What was Lee Weeks working on?
I don't think he worked on cross-gen.
I thought he did.
No. I think you're confusing. There was...
I may be confusing him with someone else.
There was Scion, who I think was Sean Chen. Was that who did that?
Yeah.
There was Scion. There was Meridian, who was that? One of those Steve McNiven or somebody like him. There was Meridian, Scion. I bought those two. Then there was Sigil and Mystic. I think were the first four. Then there was more after that.
Crux.
That was that's right. I think there were 6 in the beginning. Crux was the one I liked the least, I think, but I still want to read. They're all worth a read. They really are solid comics. I mean, Negation is one of my favorite comics of all time. That came later. But, they're all Sojourn. That was the Greg Land one. That was the one Greg Land thing I've read, and it was good. But it's general, and I think CrossGen was also the first company to get digital coloring right. Maybe because everybody was in the same office.
Everybody was in the same office, and what I've heard from a few colorists was that it was hard to be a colorist there because every person, art-wise, previously, as pencil, ink, coloring, everyone beforehand had an opinion about the coloring. From the editor to the penciler to the ink, everyone who worked
since everybody was there,
and they were all in the same office, basically change this, tweak this, do this, do that. Again, this is what I heard. I don't know if that exactly happened.
I can believe that.
But it was one of those things where you had so many people talking to the colorist at the same time.
He had so many bosses, he didn't like it.
Yes. And again, I don't know how much the penciler told the inker what to do. Did that happen through the whole process, or was it just the last person on the process?
I imagine it's the last person on the line, especially color is they wanted to get it right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked for a while.
Yeah.
They were. I don't remember any of the stories, but man, were those books pretty.
Yeah, I'm
definitely say that they were pretty. I think Scion I did buy a couple issues of.
Okay, yeah, that one was good. I enjoyed that. That's the Sean Chen one.
I believe so. Was there one with a female archer or
yes, that was Sojourn
kind of character?
That was Sojourn. That was the one Greg Land did.
So I probably picked that one up too.
That was a good one. And that one, what was different was the sigil bearer was the villain. So it was the villain who had the superpowers.
I was more interested in the second line, in the second wave.
Yeah. I think the second wave was better
because they finally gave up on the idea that this is a shared universe. Because it was.
Oh, the first is the other one I haven't read.
Because I liked Ruse, I liked Way of the Rat, I liked El
Ruse,
Cazador.
yeah. Ruse
I'm
was
pretty
excellent.
sure I got Ruse and Way of the Rat.
And
Way
then
of the
they
Rat
tried.
I bought too.
And then they tried doing some creator-owned stuff. I bought something called the Crossovers, in which was
Oh
a
yeah,
family. Yeah, it
I
was a
remember that one.
family where all of them, wanted to, all of them belonged to a different genre, but nobody else in the family knew that, so they all pretended to be normal.
Huh. I remember that one now. I forgot about that. They even printed Lady Death for a few issues. Who owns that one? Brian Pulido? Is that his?
Yep.
Yeah, I think they printed that for a few issues. And it was fraud that made them go out of business. Something to do with the owners. The owner was a software guy who invented some piece of software. He was and eventually sold that software for millions of dollars to a bigger company. But a lot of those dollars were in stock of the bigger company. And that's what he used to start CrossGen. But then in the middle of CrossGen going on, the bigger company somehow was committing fraud and got run out of business, basically. So all his money disappeared. And that's when they ended up looking for investors and not being able to find them.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine the line of thinking. Okay, let's create a tech startup to fund a comic book company.
Right. Right. It's like, whoops. And they had some big they were ahead of the game on digital comics, coloring, and other stuff. And they had some deals going, some Hollywood deals going, but Hollywood deals, unfortunately, often don't work out. Like, I think one of the problems too they had was with some big Hollywood guy like Steven Spielberg or someone was interested in one of their properties. But someone like Steven Spielberg being interested in one of your properties takes a long time to translate into a deal with money. And they ran out of time. And Disney bought up their IP. Hence, we get giant books from Marvel.
Yep.
I don't know if they've got any others in the pipeline, any others planned. You would think like Sojourn would be a no-brainer. They hire Greg Land all the time, but I don't know. It's hard to say which properties Marvel think will make money for them.
Also, who knows how much, if they have the original films.
I think they must.
Towards the end, it got a bit crazy, especially with the bidding and silent bidders and stuff like that. I do know that I was asked if I wanted to fly down to their offices and go through the artwork. And because there was no real organization, and that was during the time that John Taddeo was trying to get the projects. And so I don't know how, he had the keys to the place for a bit. And I don't know how the art was taken care of. I don't know, who got what artwork. So I don't know, because for a half a second, he owned the company.
Who is that?
Just about John Taddeo.
I don't think I know him.
He worked at Marvel through the cards department.
Okay.
And so for a half a second, it seemed like he was the winning bid for it. And again, it just was one of those things, like, it was a chance if he got it, I probably would have ended up there, working there. But he had offered to fly me down, but I was in the middle of like 3 different projects that I could not take off the weekend just to look at artwork that I couldn't really do anything with. And it was like, now I kind of regret going down there because, it was a free trip to Florida.
Yeah, it
But
could have been
again, it was
interesting.
like I was just backed up with work. So, and it was like it was between him and then after, like, they were calling him like the dark horse bidder type thing or some
Yeah.
weird business name. And that for a bit he almost got it. And I think he did walk out with one of the projects that never got done. That could have been a creator-owned project that was from, I don't even remember anymore because it had a bit of controversy. Because it was like a version of G.I. Joe that was a little too rough, kind of thing. And I forget who the writer was. Again, this is how many years ago, and this was like one Friday, this craziness happened, and then it just disappeared.
Wow. But they definitely have the original art, the original digital files for Mystic, because
Yeah.
they look perfect, and there's no way Marvel is putting any money into recreating them.
Right, exactly. So that's what I figured. I mean, since that was all digital at that time period,
Right.
those files must exist.
But
And
that's
so
probably what he wanted you to look at, was the digital files to see what they have, right?
I don't know. Because he said
Because
there
the
was
original
artwork
art
there. There
wouldn't do
was
him any
things.
good.
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't
imagine if
know
he had the keys to
exactly.
the office and wanted you to fly down, he wanted you to assess if the digital files were there and in order. That's what
Probably.
I'd want.
Which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know if he was
It makes
planning to
sense
move
to
his
send you
offices
down to do
into
it
there.
too.
Yeah, that's true. That does make a lot of sense. Because he just said art file. He said art. And I think when
Yeah,
he said art files, I might have thought flat files, not
right.
necessarily digital files.
I would think digital files. Captain Finity says my comic isn't finished yet, but it's kind of annoying and hasn't an option for a movie yet.
Yeah, the whole option for the movie reminds me of every time I've talked to somebody who tells me, "Oh, they have a art package at Marvel. It's on one of the editor's desks," and it's like, yeah, I know what those desks look like. You're in a pile of
Yeah.
art, not necessarily, you don't have a project there. That's what I feel like options for movies mean.
That is good. The more they ignore your book, the more people will read it. Yeah, that's how it works.
Uh-huh.
The readers will be ahead of the curve. Excellent point. You need to create that buzz. One of the comics I got this week, I got 7 comics at my LCS this week. I picked I had only 5 on my pull list, so I picked a couple up off of the indie shelf. So I picked up Stake Presents, a name that's almost unreadable. I had a look at the indicia. Stake Presents, that right there says Jessamy. And that is Jessamy. This cover caught my eye, and I flipped it open, and there was some good artwork inside too. So I figured and this is issue number 3, by the way. I didn't let that, being that I liked the art inside and liked the cover, I didn't let it being issue number 3 dissuade me from buying it. But it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It's from AMP. Who's the AMP Comics, AMP. You got me. Created and written by David A. Byrne. Illustrated by Francesca Fantini. And lettered by Joel Rodriguez. Produced by Metal Ninja Studios Concept to Comic. Don't know what that means. But it was a vampire comic that takes place, I don't know where. I mean, I don't know when. Sometime like in this, I'm not sure if the USA was around yet. But I think it might take place in New Orleans in like, I don't know, 1750 or something. Who knows? Maybe 1850. I can't even tell. But some vampires from Europe decided to move to the New World. And I guess in Europe there's like vampire orders who keep the vampire rules so the vampires don't get out of hand and get everyone killed. Well, they moved to the New World and were getting out of hand. So this woman who I think is Jessamy, who I think is French, she headed over. What was that?
Doesn't sound French.
Doesn't sound anything. Jessamy.
No, it doesn't. And even if you write it like that, the only thing it could be is Breton, which means
Jessamy,
which means it's Irish, not French.
But anyway, she's got to go over there and sort these bad vampires out. And this is the issue where I guess issue 1 and 2 was the first parts of the story. I don't know. This part of the story, she has to sort them out. And she also makes their slave a vampire and brings them to Europe. And it's like, all right, I'll see you in a couple 100 years. Keep your nose clean. So I don't know what but it was a good issue. The only weird thing about it, I don't know if the camera picks this up. Oh, there we go. There's this weird, I think it's like faux staining on it. But I'm like, why? At first, I thought it was like real staining on the book because it serves no real point. I don't see any design reason why this shouldn't be solid black or have a design on the back cover, because there it is at a distance. Looks like a normal cover, but up close, there's staining on the edges. And I was just like, is that on purpose? I think it's on purpose. It's not actual staining. It's printed. That just confused me. I don't know what design decision made them want stains on the back cover.
I would imagine, I'm going to guess. I'm going to imagine, since it's a vampire book, that probably should have been bloodied fingerprints and something was not clear as a transparent. That's the only thing I can think of. Because to me, it looks like
blood stains, possibly.
Yeah.
Oh, and they bring
That's the only thing I could think.
But it was good. I would buy more of this. It was good.
There's a review in League of Comic Geeks, and the reader comments. One says, "Cool premise, but good lord, is the writing bad? Do they not have an editor? I've never seen so many comma splices so densely packed."
I did not notice that. I wouldn't say the writing was bad. Maybe the punctuation was bad. I didn't really notice that.
Yeah, the other readers can't figure out if the story is set in the 18th or 19th century either.
Yeah.
Of course, considering that the inspiration for most people who want to do vampires in Louisiana is an interview with a vampire. We've seen that. So they want to do Buffy meets interview with the vampire.
You know what? That's a good comp there and a good comparison. I like that. But like it was solid. There was also another cover that was pretty good. That was much more cheesecakey. But I kind of liked this dark cover better. But like the cheesecakey one was pretty good too. So it's rare that I see two covers from an indie comic that are like, oh, these are both good. But this also could have been kickstarted at some time, and because I think a lot of the indie books that are being distributed through that new company were once Kickstarters. Captain Infinity. Oh, option in Hollywood means they definitely paid for it but haven't made it, which is their problem once my check clears. Yeah, an option means once their option runs out, you can resell it. Those are sticky fingers of clerks. My copy of Strangers in Paradise came with a smudge of chocolate. I hope. Oh, yeah. And here's a little bit of a sad story from my LCS this week. I noticed one of the Marvel books that came out was a Scarlet Witch #1, which is, pardon me, I think it's Sorcerer Supreme #1, but Scarlet Witch is now the Sorcerer Supreme.
Okay.
Had about 6 covers. All were pretty covers. I was like, wow. Those were $1 a piece. I'd buy those just for their covers, but I'm not gonna. But I asked my LCS owner because I don't know, it must be a year ago now. I just happened to be in the store one week, and there was this young woman, I think she's college age, who was like, chatting with her in the store. She said, I came in to get my Scarlet Witch is my jam. I got to get started, the new Scarlet Witch. She's my favorite character. I love her. Talking about the Scarlet Witch a little. Haven't seen her in ages. And since there was that new one out, I was like, I said, Roy the Elliot. I was like, Roy, did that Scarlet Witch girl ever come back to get her get Scarlet Witches? And he was like, I haven't seen her. He was trying to remember. He was trying to remember. This was what made me think she was away in college. I was like, she may have been here once this summer, but then she hasn't been here the break. And he was like, last time she was in here, she was in with her mother. And her mother saw the prices on the comics and went, do you really need all these comics? Do you really need that many comics? And, and we all went, ah. She might not be back because her mother discouraged her from, like so many mothers before her.
Yep.
Discouraging her from
buying comics. Bring your mother to your sacred places.
Yeah, a few years ago, I took my cousin because her daughters were 7 at the time, okay, let's see what comics do you want. And she saw the prices of the Asterix. 15 euros, because she thought they were like 3 or 4. Because that's.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons people are really affected by the prices of comics. Or at least they were, maybe not so much, because they remember buying comics, with their own money when comics were $1 or 50 cents. What? Comic books are $4? That's crazy. It's like, really? What? When you bought them in 1988 and you think the price is going to stay the same? But I felt sorry for it because so many mothers across time have discouraged their children from doing something, especially comic books.
I could buy a European comic for less than the price of lunch, and now I can buy a lunch for less than the price of a European comic. So,
but still, I have to imagine the girl was spending her own money.
Yeah, but I see that's also the problem. It's like, doesn't matter what they're spending it on. If the person who is making that decision doesn't care the price, the person on the outside watching it will discourage whatever it is because they themselves think that price is too much, no matter what it is.
Yeah, and I'm like, don't you want your daughter to have some joy in her life? You could trade $20 for making your daughter happy and having some joy in her life. You don't want to do that? I mean, baffles me sometimes
Oh yeah.
because they don't see the joy in it.
No, they have no
But
idea that
no,
They
there
have
is
no
joy
idea the
in
joy.
it, and they may not even see the joy in anything else.
Yeah.
it's
You know?
And
it's an
me just talking,
accumulation of paper.
yeah. And me just talking to that girl for like the 5 minutes I talked to her, I could see the joy Scarlet Witch comics brought her.
Right.
No other comics, just the Scarlet Witch ones. So it was like, stomping out the joy in your child's life. See what do we got here? Werewolf by Lunch. I'm pretty sure my cat found that $20 he had in his card from him from his mother-in-law. He definitely thinks I spent the money on treats. Your cat is aware. Comic books were $1. Coke was 50 cents. Comics are now $4, and Coke is $2. It's not that much of a change. I got beer, Rico. When I got my first comics, they were 75 cents, and a candy bar was 25 cents, and $4. Where do you buy candy bars that they're $1.25?
Yeah.
I don't know what candy bars you're getting, but last time I went to get a candy bar, it was like $4. I was like,
Something like
holy
that, yeah.
cow. Bullocks for them. They pay much more for a monthly streaming platform. They don't own nothing in the end. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Or gaming. Gaming's
Yeah.
even worse.
Oh,
Because I remember the complaints when comics hit $3. Well, I can buy a game for 20, and I can play it for days on end and months on end.
yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, you could
but
also
now you pay.
reread the comic.
Yeah, but now you pay $20, and you're not even allowed to finish the game because you need to buy extras.
Yeah.
Not only that, you have to be online to play the game. You know,
Only
that
problem with
for
wages is
free.
not kept up with inflation. That's true.
That is very true.
Did your parents encourage comics and doing art?
Mine's did.
I
My
don't
mom.
know. They didn't discourage. Well, they discouraged comics a little bit when I was younger. Spending too much money on comics the same thing.
Let me put it to you this way. My dad likes movies which are realistic documentary style biopics, and my mom likes the Von Trapp family. So yeah, she watches if the Sound of Music is on TV, she watches it. We got her the DVD years ago. She refuses to watch the DVD. She only likes to watch it when it's on the TV.
Though I will tell you the one time in high school when I had to sneak comic book back. My friend Rob still laughs at me for this. I don't know. I was probably 17. I mean, I wasn't young anymore. And I had a job. And I was buying 1,000 comic book bags at one time. So I needed a lot of comic book bags, didn't want to buy them again. I forget how much 1,000 comic book bags cost at the time, but it was a good chunk of it. Well, $50, $100 maybe. Who knows? But I snuck them in the back door so that my parents wouldn't know I spent that much money on comic book bags. And my friend Rob is like, who drove me to the back of the house. He's like, you're sneaking them in. It's like, they're comic book bags. You're sneaking them in. You're like, they're drugs. And I'm like, I just don't want any trouble. I don't want any lectures about how I'm spending too much on comics. So I'm sneaking them in the back door.
Yeah.
Because that lecture about when I was 12 about spending too much money on comics stuck with me.
When I was 12, I had less than 20 comics. Yeah, and yeah, my parents thought I had too many comics. Yeah. Then all of a sudden I had 2,000 comics.
I probably had a couple hundred. But they never really discouraged me from art or anything. They didn't, because I was going to school for it. So
my parents didn't discourage me from the artwork. My mom, I found out later in life, my mom wanted to be an artist. She had nothing to push her, to encourage her, and stuff like that.
Right.
So when I wanted to be an artist, she was all for it. She didn't care that I was reading comics because there was a grade change of how I was doing reading in school and then buying comics, reading it on my own. There was like even the teacher was like, "What's he doing?" Well, he's reading comics. Okay, he's reading something. So that was a plus. Me reading
Mhm.
comic was a plus to the family. My stepdad did not care what I spent my money on. It was my money, whatever, go
Right.
spend it on whatever. And so collecting comics did not bother, as far as I'm aware of, they never discouraged me reading comics. And they also didn't care for me to talk about it. They had no interest in having a
Right, right.
conversation about it. Um, and so it was like, there was always the push there as an artist. That's fine. Whatever you're doing as far as the artist is concerned, we don't care. Also, I was the kid that was willing to go to the store for them because I
Hmm.
was embezzling the money to buy my comics. Because if you're sending me to the store to buy cigarettes and there's change, I'm gonna keep the change since I'm the
Yep.
one going to the store. Because it's like, all right, it's like, where's my change? I went to the store. you know, if so, there was almost always a comic book bought. And again,
Mhm.
this is a time when they were 50 cents.
Right.
So if my change coming back from the store was under that dollar range, I'm keeping that. But if it was, a couple of bucks above, then I would give it back. So I was lucky in the sense of, my parents didn't throw out my comics
Right.
and I was encouraged with the artwork.
Yeah.
But my dad also liked to talk about, oh yeah, I probably read Spider-Man #1. Everyone in the family had read it and it got tossed away. So he liked to put that in, it's like, I bet you I had those first issues. But during that time period, we would read it and then it would be passed to the cousins and everybody on the block would all read those
Right.
comics. So we never see them again.
Yeah. When it comes to being, I think parents, especially if they come from a working class background, they have a problem if the only thing you're good at is being artistic, because they don't
Mhm.
believe that that you can make money off of it.
Right.
Especially because there's always that. Well, if I had the time, I could have become an artist. No, you didn't. You didn't. It's the same type of training. But I had a classmate in college who was a singer already at the time, and his dad had also been a singer for years, and never famous, but he was well regarded in the places where he sang at. He just never made a living of it, and told my classmate as well as his older brother, "You can sing as much as you want. You just can't make a living off of it unless you get unless you have a proper job as well." Because if you're not making money off of singing, you have that to rely on. Now they don't have
Mhm.
proper jobs. They're just in the music business. But they had to work on it because the older brother was a the older was brother. He was a designer. I remember when I was in college that he worked at a furniture store. He did furniture designs, and my classmate, he was going to become a radio journalist because
Ah.
he was very good at doing sports play by play. But he
Yeah.
never did
Radio.
radio. He ended up never doing radio, and he actually managed to make money off of music before his older brother.
And,
Okay.
and then my stepdad was also good at the fact that during the summers, myself and my brothers would go with him because he basically led a freelancer's life, but he was a painter, a carpenter. So he would
Oh,
be doing repairs, painting apartments and stuff like that, janitorial type of work that he eventually ended up getting a job as a super. But before that, he was painting apartments. And so there was that kind of freelance mentality of working for yourself. And so in the summer, I would work, him, myself, and my brothers would all be working. So we would be, apprentices under him, in the sense of preparing a room to be painted, whether the room was furniture or not, moving stuff around, painting stuff, painting walls, construction, and all that type of stuff. So we had those skills as well, that if we ever needed them, we could always get
Mhm.
odd jobs like that. And then once he became a super, he had something more steady. He was still doing repairs, but now was in more of a local kind of a thing. So, and again, it's like I got to go to college. And then my mom happened to go back to college as well, because she decided she wanted, instead of being a at home mom, she wanted to do jobs and stuff like that. So she went back to school. So all these things kind of like, they let us do what we wanted to do, but at the same time we were being taught skills that was like, well, I want to just hang out and read comics all summer long. That wasn't going to happen. But, you know, but I worked, and it's like, here's your money, do what you want. And that's ended up
Yep.
that ended up being, how I paid for all my comic books. And again, it was one of those things, is like, we were encouraged to do what we wanted to do. And as long as it didn't actually cost money, even going to art school wasn't costing money. Supplies, yeah, but
Yeah.
you had to get into the school. So art and design, I had tried it a few times to get in, finally got in. And the only thing that I never got back to go with was to go to Cooper Union.
Right.
Because, I tried for them while I was still in high school, not knowing, because we knew Cooper Union as a school, not necessarily as a college kind of a thing. So we try to approach that one first, and it's like, no, go to art and design, and then after that come to us. And I don't know why we never went back to them.
Hmm. Let's go through some comments. My point is that the change in cost is steady with the cost of other things kids used to buy with their pocket money. Yeah, but adults don't buy candy bars, I think is what it is. So they're not always shocked by the price of them. Or they buy candy bars at the grocery store and they're bigger and different. Inflation is what's making things unaffordable. That and greed.
Yep.
8 to 9% this year alone. Greed plays a big part in inflation. If I bought 1,000 comic bags, my parents would probably wish I was on drugs.
No, I got the bags. Now we put the drugs in them. Then profit, but I can't figure out the in between.
Cheaper than a particular artist edition. They just bought me an $80 record store voucher and then breathed out. Let's see. I will never forget the story of my uncle that had all his Cowboy and Spider-Man comics burnt in a fireplace by my grandfather. The motive? He ran out of wood. Oh.
Oh.
Is this the line for soup? Shatter introduced me to the Apple Mac. Drawing comics as a teenage hobby, gifted me a career as a computer artist in the late 1980s when it was cutting edge technology. Oh, I remember Shatter. I got that. That was back before anti-aliasing was a thing, and you had to draw every little dot. It looks very grainy these days, Shatter. My mom thought it was a good idea to keep my brother and I away from cigarettes and beer. It worked, but 30 years later, she regrets it because we all kept our comics at her house. Let's see. Another comic I got this week, another indie one, is Escape New Jersey. And I have zero idea why Tintin is on this cover. It is not a Tintin comic.
Yeah, and Tintin is not in the public domain, so.
But it's got some nice artwork in black and white.
That is pretty, yeah.
And here's the Swamp Thing tree, I call it. And this was good, too. Like the first part of it was kind of almost a crime slice of life story about these two women and a kid in a car trying to make it across New Jersey in a storm. because the woman's husband, the one woman's husband is abusive or something. And it was almost like a slice of life, horror vibe to it as they're trying to escape. And then they end up like pulling over in the side of the road, and the little kid gets out of the car, and the tree with the faces on it starts talking to him, saying, "You can't leave New Jersey. You're part of our culture here. Your family's roots go back." So I guess there's some sort of mystic thing going on too. So that by the end they stop at a diner and they get snowed in because they're in the middle of a storm. And the baby turns into this plant creature. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I enjoyed it. The problem is the second issue. Because I think this came out like a week or two ago. And Roy said a few people bought it and really liked it. But when the second issue was solicited, he's like, I don't know if there were special covers or something, but every issue 2 was like $20+. He's like, I didn't even put it on the order sheet because no one's going to order it for $20.
Yeah.
So I was like,
that pays
that's
for the
bad.
Tintin.
Yeah, maybe they're paying to have Tintin on their cover. Like I said, I have no idea why Tintin is on that cover.
Some idiots got the idea that Tintin's in the public domain in the United States because the first story was published in Belgium in 1929, but that story was never published in the US.
Even if it was, why are you putting Tintin on the cover?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the US knows putting Tintin on your cover isn't going to make it sell more copies.
No.
So I got to wonder what's going on. Just strange. But it was I would buy the second issue if, more than $20 or whatever it is. But it was a nice, I was 2 for 2 in my pickups off the stands this week. I just, non-pull list one. So I was happy about that. Because often I, pick up some random issue because I got a couple extra bucks and it sucks. So I'm glad it didn't suck. Portfolio, BD. I wish I had your problems. Somebody's mother threw out their comics. By the way, remember those markers you bought, Wilson, for the white markers for sketch cards or whatever it is?
Yes.
I decided I'm going to try some good old-fashioned gesso. Okay. I don't know if you've ever used gesso before, but this is what you put on raw canvas.
Matter of fact, I have. I think I have the same. Well, I had the same jar. It wasn't until you showed me that it's like I had that jar. I have no idea where it is because I haven't painted since. Because I would use the gesso to paint because I usually would paint in acrylics, and I'm almost sure I had that exact jar.
I was trying some white acrylic markers. These are the big ones to sort of put down white on these cards to see if I could use markers over it. And it just wasn't very good. The markers were all smearing over the black line. So I was like, so I was looking for other markers to try. And I'm like, why am I trying acrylic markers? Why don't I try gesso? Thin coated gesso. We'll see how that works.
That's a good idea. Let me know.
I will let you know.
Because I'm almost sure I don't have that can anymore. Because I used it when I was doing acrylic paintings, and I used that exact type of gesso. And I'm almost sure I don't have that can anymore. For some reason I want to say that the outside bottle turned yellow.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
And I got rid of it. Yeah. So it was pretty sure it was Blick or from whatever Michaels might have had.
20 years ago, before I started using pre-sketched canvas, I bought gesso by the gallon.
Right.
Used it a lot. So the Tintin appearance is pointless and illegal? Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why the second issue costs $20 because that's the that's probably the lawsuit issue.
Werewolf by Lunch. I still have 10 boxes left in England plus a few hundred trades. Imagine the price sending them over.
Yeah, might as well buy them new.
$40 for one Vinny.
People, comics fans in Australia are always complaining about the price of everything because everything needs to be shipped over there.
Yeah. Ship. And let's see. I also got a Scott Koblish cover. Marvel Zombies 4. This is the Civil War. Civil War variant cover, and the insides is also Civil War.
Oh, okay. Look at all that white on that cover that you don't even have to gesso that.
And this has been a pretty good series, I got to say. You know, the only reason I'm reading it is because the Scott Koblish covers, of course.
Right.
I should say the only reason I'm buying it, but I'm enjoying reading it. Who does it?
I've have enjoyed the Marvel Zombie stuff.
This one is by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan are the writers. Jan Bazadua is the artist. If that's Jan and not what's the male way to say it again? Just flew right out of my head. Jan. Eric Arcaniga is the color artist, and VC's Travis Lanham is the letterer. So another good. This one, like, it was Civil War related. We just had the Battle World. What was? Oh, the name just flew out of my head again. Spider-Man with his new black suit. What was the name of that series?
Secret Wars?
Secret Wars. That was the Secret Wars one, but they were on Battle World doing stuff for a couple issues out in space. Now the ship lands back on the Earth, and we've got the Captain America team of zombies and the Iron Man team of zombies fighting over the Infinity Gems. So that's our Civil War tie-in in this one. But there's only one more issue, which hopefully has a Scott Koblish cover so I can finish out the series.
I think I saw Scott's name on a G.I. Joe, but I'm not positive.
He was, you know where you saw his name? I didn't get it, but there was just a facsimile edition of like one of the last I don't know if it was the last issue of G.I. Joe.
I think it
was. But something like that.
Okay. So it was a facsimile edition. And
he inked the cover and he inked the inside of that, whatever that last issue of G.I. Joe was.
I want to say G.I. Joe 150.
Yeah, it was something like
whatever
that.
was the last G.I. Joe issue from Marvel.
Right.
And so I saw his name on the cover, and it's like, but I have this already. So I thought he did a new cover. Like, did he just redo the cover? And then I realized, oh, it's a facsimile. It's like, I know I have the original, so I didn't need to pick it up. Okay.
Yeah, he did that. But I did just see he just said he's going to be doing a something issue 800, I think, for DC. I can't even remember what it is now. Okay. But I'll order it on final order cutoff. I usually, when I get the email on final order cutoff, I do a search for G. Russo and Koblish.
Oh, okay.
Just that's how I make sure I get whatever covers they're doing. Or if I happen to learn they're doing the insides and something, I'll do that too. We're up by lunchtime. Like I say to my mom, this way your kids and grandkids will always visit you.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining, Paulo. My dad is. Plus, it hurts his back picking them up. He is 79. So I'll let that one go.
Yeah. No, here's the thing. I had to move my comics 14 plastic boxes, so it's not comic boxes. They're plastic boxes. They're heavy. And he's almost 78, and he's not helping me move them back in whenever I'm able to move them back in. But even then, I'm gonna have to figure something out, because our mechanic is letting me keep the comics there for a while, and he does have plenty of room, and I put him out of the way. But it's nuts. When he saw us arrive, days after days, with all those boxes, man, this was a bad idea. So I can't keep them there. I have to figure. Then I have to figure. I'm going to need a few friends to help out whenever I'm able to move the comics out of there, because I'm not making my dad pick them up again. No,
Right.
Sorry.
Huh. Portfolio says Basil Dua is now a lady. He began as a dude at Top Cow, and she made the transition when she started drawing for Marvel. So I guess it's definitely Jan then.
Okay.
Jan Basil Dua. All right.
Basil Dua. Okay.
That's good to know. First time I'm hearing her name, so. The art's solid. It's a little, the coloring is a little iffy for me. Eric, yeah, the coloring is this, I don't know, it's a style without a lot of clarity to it. So it's not bad. It read fine.
Right.
But just looking through it doesn't thrill me. Oh, one of the Firefly things I got this week is this hardcover. I think it's a graphic novel. Firefly Sting. There's our, what's her name? Christina Hendricks cover. 5 women, no men, one big Gorham diamond. And for those of you who don't know, Gorham is the way in the Firefly universe to say goddamn without saying goddamn. So Gorham, goddamn, sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
But
like
I don't
Battlestar
know.
Galactica and what's the frack. You pick up on that one real quick. What frack means?
Yeah, that one's not hard. But this one is weird in that I couldn't figure out if this is like a collection of issues or its own. As far as I can know, because I haven't read any of the issues yet. I'm just, I've been collecting them the month of December, but I haven't started to read them yet. So I still need a couple more. But each issue has a different art, or at least there's 4 chapters in it. Chapter 1 illustrated by Pius Back. Chapter 2 illustrated by Serge Acuna. Chapter 3 Richard Ortiz. Chapter 4 Hyunjin Kim. Chapter 5 Rodrigo Lorenzo. And I'm like, doesn't that sound like 5 different issues? But there's nothing in the indicia that says originally presented in or something like that. So I assume it's a hot graphic novel sort of thing. Cost me $15. And this is the limited edition cover. There's the mass market cover, and I got this off of eBay from Clover Press, of all people. Clover Press, I buy comics from, they're a publisher. I don't know what they're doing selling Boom Studios books. I usually get their own books from Clover Press, but I've seen them before selling like loose comics of somebody else. I'm like, did they just have someone at Clover Press selling stuff on eBay? What is that part of how they fund some of their comics? I don't know.
But this is an original graphic novel. It is an original graphic novel.
It is an original graphic novel.
Yes, and from what I can tell, if Clover Press were selling them, it's because they bought the back catalog, because this came out in 2019.
Ah, okay. That's like did I mention last week the $20 Image blind bag that was out? Image Comics, I think it came out last week, has it like they're jumping on the blind bag craze, I guess. Have a $20 blind bag, but you're guaranteed a ratio book. The blind bag is full of random ratio books. And my LCS owner was speculating that Because he said at some point, when Diamond went bankrupt, their warehouses were full. But at the bankruptcy auction, you could buy your stuff back. Roy ended up buying some stuff from Diamond, like ratio variants for like $4 a book, which he's like, I ended up selling on eBay for $4 a book. Which makes me think that might be where some of my Firefly stuff came from, where I was getting ratio variants of the Firefly stuff, like 1 in 25s for like $2-3. So it may have came from Diamond. So he was thinking that Image bought a bunch of the ratio variants back, and then went, what the heck are we going to do with these? So they made blind bags out of them. Don't know if that's true. That was just Roy speculating, but that's Image is selling a $20 blind bag guaranteed to have a ratio variant of something in it. He's like, nobody in the store bought one. Because that's expensive. I moved to Oz over 23 years ago with 35 boxes. I said, Dad, don't worry. I'll get the rest soon.
And another book that I looked at on the shelf at the comic book shop was they had the Marvel Age Omnibus.
Oh.
And so I picked that up. It was shrink wrap, so I didn't get to thumb through it. And I was looking at it, it's like, this is tempting, but I'm sure I could find it somewhere else at a lesser price.
It's tempting, but I'll never read it. I know that.
I know I'll open it up and I'll flip through it and go, I remember this book. I remember that book.
I remember that.
I should read this. And I probably won't.
Never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. It's kind of like I was even looking at thinking that I'm going to need to order some short boxes soon. You know, every once in a while I'll just pick one up at the comic book shop and it's like, I should get a couple in bulk. And so while I was at the comic book shop, they now have short boxes with art on it, patterns and stuff like that, theme stuff. And I really like that. I think that's really cool. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want to pay extra for the art that's just going to be not seen? Because, the art beautifully is all over the box.
But it's going in the closet.
But it's going to go in the closet. And then it's like, I keep thinking to myself, like, I got more than enough books already. I should reread them because I never have.
Right.
There are certain key books that it was like, oh, I like that story. I want to reread it, and I have that as a trade paperback because it's easier to pull the trade paperback out than actually go through the comics. But I want to eventually go through the comics because, it's at that point where it's like I need to cut some of these down. Especially since I bought a lot of these, a good chunk of them, over 30 years ago when I was really heavily collecting, and they're at least in alphabetical order, in numerical order to a certain point. And it's like, all right, I probably have enough Marvel Ages that it may not be as full as the omnibus, but chances are I'll just pick and read certain ones that I like to cover.
You can get the same rush looking at the issues that you've already got.
That I already got. It's like, so that rush will be more, I would say probably more substantial and not as heavy as picking up, a huge one kind of a thing. But it was very tempting to get that. Now, if I was at an Ollie's where it was like so much less of a price, I could see getting it there. And luckily, there is not an Ollie's near me because I would spend too much time there getting oversized books.
I still have to make the trip to the Ollie's that's up by my sister's in Orange County. Haven't done it yet. Because when I'm visiting my sister, I don't go out shopping. I'm visiting my sister.
You're there to visit your sister.
Yeah. Someday I'll go, let's go to Ollie's. And let's see, a couple series ended this week. Skin Police 2. Issue 4. So far there's been 8 issues, 2 4-issue series. Written by Jordan Thomas, drawn by David Heaty, Jason Wordy on colors, and Jeff Powell, former bullpenner, on lettering. I don't think Carl had anything to do with this. Oh, editor Carl Bowlers. So Carl did have something to do with it.
There you
go. I'll have to message him that I enjoyed it. But I originally bought this because Daniel Heaty, which is, Carl tells me how that should pronounce his name. It's spelled Gete, but it's pronounced Heaty.
Gete. It's pronounced Gete, not
Gete. Well, Carl told me it was Heaty, so Gete. What type of name is it, Paulo?
Spanish.
Okay. So maybe that's the Americanization of it. But he was the artist on Uber. So I check out his stuff usually. And enjoyed it. This is the one I compare to Blade Runner. Cloning was eventually developed, but then years later, cloning was outlawed. And it turns out when clones get around 30, they can turn homicidal or not. And the skin police are the people who hunt down clones. We got, clones who don't want to die. They don't want to get taken. And it's a fascist society too. And I think that takes place in France in the future. And there's no reason for it to take place in France, by the way. It could take place. I mean, it's not like they're speaking like Batroc the Leaper or anything. But it's been a good series. But you don't know who, much like Blade Runner, you kind of feel for the replicants. You feel for the clone people, but the skin police are the lead character is a skin police guy. So it was a good series. And of course there can be more. I don't know if there's going to be a third series or not, and the other one that finished up was the Tin Can Society. This is issue 9 of 9. And this is the one that was sort of a murder mystery. They're the Tin Can Society around the tree. They all met as friends. The guy in the armor couldn't walk. Oh, there's a giant mech for you.
Nice.
But he turned out to be this like Tony Stark-like genius who invented this company to help humanity be better, and people who couldn't walk and stuff like that. But eventually he made himself a suit of Iron Man armor because he just couldn't help it. And then in the first issue he was killed, and it turned into a murder mystery with his friends trying to figure out who killed him, and it evolved. It was a good story. It's by Peter Warren is the writer, Francesco Mobili is the artist, and Chris Chuckery is the colorist. And the letterer is Jackie Marzan. But it was a nice series. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'll read it again, too. I'll have to decide if I want to give this one away to my students or not. But I got enough stuff lined up to give them away. This is down the line further. This might be a semester or 2 away from giving it away. Here we go. Comics in plastic boxes, Paulo. They will get mold. Put them on your parents' living room. No one will notice them. Just have to keep the Sound of Music and Schindler's List on the TV.
Oh, they would notice. They would notice because I'd have to kick out some of the floral arrangements in order to put the comics there. But the mechanics warehouse is a lot. The weather up there is a lot less dampy than where my house currently is.
Huh.
Seriously, I have like a park behind me, and there used to be a stream before civilization got here, which happened 75 years ago.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm like surrounded by humidity. So it's more dangerous here. But I'm going back to my parents' house. But I'm not going back to my old room, and because that's now an extension of the living room. But even so, I had like 1/20th of what I currently own when I moved out, and and I can't bring everything home. So the floppies go into storage. I I still have to clear out about 40 graphic novels, and I don't know where I'm going to put them because I'm not bringing more to the mechanic, and I don't know where I'm going to. I don't have a place for them.
I'll have to
I
figure
got
it
comics
out.
that I got about 200 comics that I'm going to give away. I have about 600 floppies, which are going in the trash. Nobody will want them. And yeah, a few of them were like,
Where's the nearest art school? Just drop them on the doorstep
no,
and run.
nobody in art school wants to draw comics.
Trust me, there are more people who want to draw comics than read comics.
Mhm. Oh no, but these guys don't. They
Okay.
want to be they want to be real artists, which means they're going to end up doing industrial design.
They'll like comics ironically.
No. This is Portugal. No, very few people are smart enough to like things ironically.
Okay. My New Year's resolution is not to buy any comics post 1956. Same as last year. I broke it last year and wish I hadn't. I don't think I've ever bought a comic pre 1956, but I'm not a back issue buyer. So if I actually, the comics I have bought pre 1956 are all collected editions.
Jimbo and Night Tiger did a live stream over 1 hour where they were showing their purchases of post Golden Age comics to each other.
Oh, and in the comic book shop, I was tempted by a comic that was CGC.
Ah.
I was tempted by Amazing Spider-Man #1, 8.0, and I looked at it, and it was just like, oh, Spider-Man #1, CGC cover, and it's like the price did not shy me away. I'm not paying that price, but I did consider it, and it was like, and I was doing art math. How many sketch cards can I do to pay for that instead of paying with cash? You know, it's like, ooh, I could do more than a couple sketch cards and covers.
That's a lot of sketch cards and
Sell them
covers.
all on eBay. How many? So I was doing that kind of math, which to me was like, huh, not necessarily doable, but I considered it.
You'll have to start your fund, your Spider-Man #1 CGC 8.0 fund on like eBay.
Yeah.
And build up over years.
And built up. It's like, all right, I may have to switch over to Gesso if you
No.
if you had success with the one you have. I have to see because I'm almost sure. Would white acrylic be the same thing as Gesso?
No, very different.
Okay.
Very different. As I'm finding out by all the when I put down the white acrylic and then ink goes over top of it fine.
Yeah.
But then any marker I put down smears the ink.
I see. Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to stop is because if I use regular paper,
right,
and put down, black ink, marker doesn't smear it.
right.
But with the acrylic backing, it smears it. So
okay.
I'm going to try. I just got this today, so I haven't got to try it out, and I have to see how thin a coat I can use so it doesn't warp the card too much.
Yeah, you
or
have the
Stuff
warping
like
or
that.
I forget the Gesso crack.
Yeah.
Because certain covers are going to be flexible.
Me and Paulo are sea pirates. My humidifier fills up 3 times a day. I think I'm more under sea level than him.
Probably not. I'm 2 miles from the seashore. But I'm only like 20 feet above sea level. If a tsunami comes, it's gonna hit here. The only thing getting in the way that serves that prevents a tsunami from getting here is all the buildings until the riverfront. But I am very much at sea level.
Yeah, that just reminded me. I'm only a couple of miles from the Hudson River, but the only time I can tell is when I'm like coming off the Palisades Parkway, and there's this one spot as I'm driving to my house where I go up over this hill, and in the winter when all the trees are gone, I can see the river. But like that's the only time I ever can see the river, because of course everything's in the way.
Right.
It's like, oh look, the Hudson River's right there. I forgot how close I live to the river. You moved. That's why my package didn't get to you till now.
Oh, I'm still going back and forth, but yeah, it was because of the holidays. See, whenever it's Christmas, public servants all schedule their leftover vacation time to fit these 2 weeks, because you can use, and also if the holiday is on a Thursday, everything that's public services closes on Friday. It doesn't count as a vacation day. They're just closed. You don't go to work.
Werewolf by lunchtime.
Now tell me again why there are Americans who want to live in a socialist society.
So we don't have to work on Fridays. Duh. Come on, isn't that
no,
obvious?
You work on Fridays. You don't work on Fridays if it's a holiday on Thursday. But you have to be a public servant. Regular people don't have the same rights as public servants.
I've been trying to sell 2000s Detective and Fantastic Four on Facebook Marketplace for $1 an issue. No takers. I just want them gone. Yeah, it's not always easy to sell comics that people don't want. Like I said, Barry Dutter, who we used to work with at Marvel, now sells comics full time as he's a comic dealer, and he has Facebook auctions all the time. But he's built it up over years and has regular sort of people. But he runs auctions on Facebook where he just has he's just like, all right, here's a lot. It's going to close at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and people just put their bids in the comments. When it closes, whoever had the high bid gets them. I can currently open up my studio window and throw my copy of Steel Town Rockers #1 into the ocean.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
Steel Town Rocker. You know what I saw a facsimile? The last 2 weeks, there's been no final order cutoff from Marvel and DC and Image too. Last week there was a final order cutoff from the indie book distributor, and on it I forget who the bands were, but there was 2 indie facsimile editions of, remember when they used to do biographies of like rock stars and rock bands?
Yeah,
especially in the early
comics.
90s, it was big.
Yeah.
Rock and roll. There was 2, I forget the bands, but there was 2 facsimiles of those being published. I was just like, what?
I would imagine you could still find them as $1 everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, oof, but someone out there is trying.
Yeah.
I found that funny.
we used to have cheap collections of paperbacks here. And funnily enough, very strange names, because the crime novels were called Vampire Collection,
Huh.
and the science fiction were called the Argonaut Collection.
Oh.
So somebody bought the rights to reprint the Vampire Collection, the crime novels, and they were going to do 2 novels. So most of them are translations of foreign material, so they're not. The rights issues are kind of a conundrum how they work there. But they were going to reprint 2 novels in a slightly larger hardcover format, and it was going to be cheap. It's going to be like $8. The thing is, you can buy those 2 novels in the original paperbacks, even if they're from the 70s and 80s, for $2. So I bet that's what happens with that facsimile. They decided to upgrade the format, but I'm not sure if there are any takers, if you can find them in the 50-cent bin.
Speaking of facsimiles, so we've been having that discussion a little off and on about trying to make a counterfeit comic.
Right.
And it turns out, scrolling through YouTube, and about 3 years ago, somebody found somebody on eBay making replica comics. They're
Right.
being
I've
called
seen that
replica.
before. But
So
they're usually like color photocopies.
Yes, they're color photocopies where the person was selling them for $100 per book.
Whoa.
That's what the person was asking for. And they were all types of Silver Age books, so they could very well had a subscription to the Marvel catalog that you get online, and he was printing them. Now, if you look at the images on eBay, I haven't looked to see if the guy still exists because this was 3 years ago, but the photographs the guy was showing, granted on his computer screen and then onto the YouTube screen, you could tell that they are not comic books. They are whatever a photocopy comic is. Whatever, if it was a laser jet or what have you. You can look at it and see that that's not an actual comic book. This is a process book. Some of the covers may even have like tick marks on it from whatever the image they got it from. And it was wild that this guy has at 3 years ago, this guy was selling these books, and the guy who was doing the review, he was basically saying that yeah, some of these issues were selling, and it's like it's not. It is counterfeiting, but it's not making it to be because he completely advertised that this is a replica
Right.
of the comic book. Still completely illegal.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating that he had
But
as
it's not
many
fraud.
books. But it's not fraud because he's telling the
Right.
truth. This isn't the true comic book. This is a replica of a comic book. So it's like there's a couple of levels of not fraud, but copyright infringement, definitely. And it was just fascinating that there's just a lot of them. And the reviews that the guy had, there was one person who thought he was getting the real thing and was complaining about it. But it's like, but if you read the listing, you would see that it says replica.
Right.
But it's fascinating to see that, who knows how long this guy had been operating on eBay.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's still doing it, or is he too small for Marvel or DC to go, hey, stop that? And it's wild because that's exactly what they was destroying film at Marvel for a while, was afraid someone was going to do that. And it's like, but you still gave them the process to do it even without the film. You got the high-res versions of them online. It was just fascinating to see that this person, he's he didn't even go as far as we were trying to think. Okay, how do we get time period?
Yeah, he
Newsprint.
wasn't counterfeiting. He was just
He
making
wasn't.
some
He was
Xeroxes.
doing Xeroxes, and he's selling them.
It's funny. I saw on some comic book Facebook book group that I'm not even in. Facebook just throws everything on your feed, ads and groups you're not in.
Right.
And they were discussing how that Superman #1, and they were like, I don't know, this is a little suspicious to me. I'm supposed to believe that story, that this issue was sitting in an attic for 50 years and comes out a 9.0. I was like, ooh,
Yeah, you just
counterfeit.
yeah, sounds too good to be true, and
Yeah, they were
you
saying
know,
that too.
yeah, and it's just wild.
Hmm.
And of course, by watching that episode, YouTube just started tossing up a whole bunch of very similar ones where people were having this discussion. Well, this kind of discussion is had all the time, but 3 years ago it was kind of big because of this. I don't know if it's just from that one eBay guy or did a whole bunch of eBay guys do that, where they're
Yeah.
have the ability to have the equipment that doesn't cost all that much to just have a laser print or a printer pop those out.
I have seen people sell like facsimile covers too to old books. And I
Right,
think I've even seen whole books where that they're just Xeroxes. Color Xeroxes, the book they put together somehow.
right,
So it's like, okay, I guess if somebody really wants a comic like that. And I've seen them sell them in bundles too. I've seen like recently, I've seen like sometime this summer I saw like I don't know how they're printed, like Kickstarters even, of 20 old horror books, and they were printing them as individual comics, and they were like $20 a comic.
right.
So you could buy the whole set for like $400 or $20 an issue. And I was just like, whoa, that's expensive.
Yeah.
But I think they were old public domain horror comics that they were printing. Some classic issues, which the covers from, like, Crime Doesn't Pay and stuff like that.
Right.
Counterfeit comics again? Are you trying to become Tit Goblin's roommates in Canada when the feds find out your plans? What? Hold on, wasn't Tit Goblin the informant? We want. If I remember correctly, he got accused of being the informant the 1 week he wasn't here.
And we're not talking about counterfeiting. We're talking about an art project.
Yeah, we're artists. We're not
We're artists.
counterfeiters. If
This
you
is
sign it, it's not counterfeiting.
this
right.
is a platonic discussion.
Right.
Let's see. The last 2 comics I got this week are regulars. Radiant Black and Feral.
I
Liked them
saw
both.
that Radiant Black had a couple of covers.
Yeah, Radiant Black generally has like I'm not a fan of their covers aren't as bad as Rogue Sun covers, but they're mostly pinup covers. I can't think of one Radiant Black cover. Like when you say Radiant Black cover in my head, nothing comes to mind.
Right.
They're just these sort of generic pinup shots. Ultimate Spider-Man #1 cover, even with the blue bar on the side for no reason.
Yeah.
But it's been both of these continue to be good. So I look forward to
Feral ending. With Feral ending, because I saw, because Feral also had alternate covers too.
Yeah.
That I noticed at the
It's
shop.
continuing.
Is it? Okay.
Back when it first started, I didn't think it was open-ended. But then a few, like issue 7 or 8, they're like, oh, we've got tons and tons of stories to tell with these cats. So I don't think they've got any ending planned for it soon.
Okay.
But I was just thinking about if I should keep my Radiant Blacks or not. I'm going to keep them by default for now because I'm like, if I find because because I don't know if I'll ever reread Radiant Black.
Right.
But unless I find like a student who's really into comics and wants to read it, it's nothing that I'd give away to a random student. Because 40 issues of a comic, no random student who's not really into comics wants.
Right.
And sometimes my students give them to their brothers back home. I had one student who was like, anything extra, I'll give to my brother. I was like, okay. So anything the class didn't want, she was bringing home to her brother. So I'm like, I'm happy that they're going to a comic fan. Comic fans are us. Any comics on your do you get an email that telling you the comics are coming out, Wilson, this week?
What I get is like on Friday I get told that my card was charged for the comics that are coming out next week. And then by Sunday night or Monday, I get an email that says that my comics are being shipped to the store. And then Wednesday or something, Wednesday morning, there's a comic like that your comics are at the store. Make sure you bring the receipt or whatever kind of thing. And so once I get to the store on Wednesday or most of the time Fridays, I walk in. The guy knows me well enough that he will start pulling my books because I go right to the shelves to see what I want to, what might catch in my eye to pull off.
They don't pull your books before you get there?
The books I believe are pulled at the warehouse.
Okay.
Wrapped up and then sent to the store.
Oh, okay. So he's not pulling individual books. He's just getting your package. Okay.
He's getting my package. That's behind the counter.
They're already paid for.
They're already paid for. I just have to sign for them. And they're done. So what I usually do, so once I walk in the store and they notice me, because it's usually the same crew on a Friday, they'll have the books like kind of set up. So when I get to the counter, we can get them. Because before it used to be I go to the counter, pay for the books, then go to the side so someone could look for the books. And while one person is manning the register. But if they have my books pre-pulled, once I get to the counter, they just grab it and then do everything there all at once. They let me look at the books to make sure everything looks okay. And then I sign for them and get them. I do not get any kind of last call type thing. What I can do if I wanted to is go on to the website, and if I wanted to add books to it, it'll be put onto my set of books for next week kind of thing. So if I ordered a bunch of books today, I won't get charged on them until next Friday, and they won't appear until the next day, kind of. Not the next day, the next week, if I want to pull stuff. There's no order cutoff type of thing. So you basically create your list of your pull list, and once in a while I'll go in and go, oh, I've been wanting this or that book. I could shop to see what they have, put it in my cart, and I can either pay for it right then and there and pick it up the next week, or there's something I could press where it'll get charged when they charge me for my next week's books, kind of a thing.
Yep.
So those are the ways to do it. So I don't think I've ever seen like a final cutoff notice type stuff. I do get emails from them about sales and things that are going on, but not necessarily a cutoff type list. And I said before, I don't like navigating their website all that much.
Yeah, it's not a great website.
It is not a great website. It's too many things try to load, and for me, I don't navigate it well. If I'm looking for something, like sometimes I want to like get a new project, or like finding out Thundar the Barbarian is having a new series coming out. So trying to navigate that, I want to get the book, I want to get the regular book, but that's going to be a Dynamite Entertainment book. So there's like 20 covers to try to navigate through to find what's the regular cover so I can get the regular price cover because they got all these variants and they cost a bunch. So
You don't want to
again,
accidentally choose the 1 in 50 and find
yes,
out it's $60.
exactly. As much as I love Thundar, I'm not going to pay $60 for the comic book.
Nope. Let's see. Sketchbook. Werewolf by look for a small comic shop and try to sell the comics to them as a bundle. Thanks, but the shipping from Australia would make it pointless. Yeah, probably have to find a local one. I don't know how few and far between comic shops are in Australia. But even here in the US, there are places, that comic shops are few and far between.
Yeah.
If you go to Lunar's website, they have catalogs and you can identify the A cover. Ah, okay. Might be easier than trying to identify it at Midtown's
Right.
website. You know the first time I ever ordered from Midtown was for CrossGen Comics.
Oh yeah.
I didn't, especially in those days, and like I said, CrossGen was like at the top of the price range for comics then, so I wasn't really that anxious to jump into CrossGen. And I wasn't the first CrossGen comics I bought were like issue 4, 5, or 6 of stuff. I was like, I'm gonna wait till there are a few issues in and see how they are because I don't want to try their first issues. And the ones that I did like, I then went and bought the back issues, mail order through Midtown's website. That's back in like 2002 or something.
Right.
Because they may have been like, they had something official going on with CrossGen. I can't remember what it was then. But they had all the issues for fairly cheap. They were like the official distributor or website or something like that of CrossGen.
Might have been because they were doing. Wow, this is going back to when CrossGen was going on. So I don't think I was even shopping at Midtown at that time. Yeah, I don't know if they would be doing the distributing because they were doing distributing more recently. So I don't know if they were like continuing what they might have started back then.
They might have, like I said, I know they had some sort of official relationship with CrossGen, or they may have been the official place to get back orders. If you went to CrossGen's website, they might have redirected you to my comic shop. That could have been how I'm not Midtown. That could be how I found them there.
Okay.
Well, let's see. It's about time to wrap up for the evening.
Yep.
Where's my balloons? There we go. We'll be on Paulo's channel next week for you.
Yep.
Excellent.
For our second show of the new year.
That's right.
And show number something. I'd have to look. Because we've done a lot of shows. And Paulo's got his numbering. Tim had his numbering.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my numbering. But if you add them all up, you'll generally get the number. Except I think your number is one off from the number of shows you've had on your channel. I don't think you numbered the first one.
Yeah, already fixed that. If you go back.
Oh, you fixed that? I haven't seen that. Okay. All right. I just got to keep things in order. That's all. I actually archive all of our shows. I download them and archive them on my hard drive, and they get archived off site too, just in case.
And you can repackage it as the movie if you put 4 episodes together.
All right. Ask Dad to do a garage sale with your comics. Let him get the money he invested on your comics collection back in his pocket. Wicked cool. Can't wait, Paulo. All right. So everybody have a good night.
We'll take care. Have a great weekend.
On Paulo's channel. And it's the end of the stream. I'm going to hit the button.
There we go. Take care.
Yeah. Got to hit the button twice.